Welcome to Two Deep Hokies Under the Influence, a Sons of Saturday podcast. My name is Pete, and you guys know my co host Robbie. It is May 2nd. We're recording in the evening. We made it to May. We're done with spring football, but we still got a lot of football news and notes coming up. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm ready for this weather to warm up and really start to shed winter for good, so we can getting up into the 70s and start really enjoying it. It's been cold here, but I'm doing well.
Yeah, dude, and I'm seeing you, and hopefully we got some video going, so this should hit YouTube at some point, and people will be able to stream us and actually see where we're sitting. Not that it's super exciting, but I dressed up my background a little bit. I got a hokey bird. I got the lunch pail behind me, and of course, you can actually see the beer that we're having tonight as
Yeah.
well, which is cool.
Yeah, me too, which is it's wonderful.
There's some nice blinds you got. They look expensive.
Yeah, beautiful blinds. You can see out into the darkness. So
Why
it's
don't you give us a cheers, buddy?
Um, I will give us a cheers to. Oh, I don't know. This is a tough one. How about just attrition and starting to finalize and figure out what this Hokies team is going to look like for us moving forward. And I mean that in a good way and a bad way. The roster is going to continue to solidify itself over the coming months. But part of that, we talked about the scholarships and where we were going to have to get to. So I wish everybody the best wherever they head to or get told they should probably move along to as well. But it's the springtime, and that's time for a little bit change.
Cheers, buddy. Yeah, we don't have so many news and notes. A lot of it is going to revolve around the attrition, but I wanted to start off with the most fun news, which was about the NFL draft and the fact that Chamari Connor got taken in the fourth round, 119th overall, which to me, it was sooner than I was expecting based on some of the pre draft stuff I was looking at. And not only did he get taken, but he got taken by the defending champs, much to my dismay, being an Eagles fan, but he's on the Chiefs. So congrats to Chamari. But were you expecting him to go that high?
No, I did not look at what he was anticipated to go into, but my guess would have been like 6th round. So, and
Yeah.
I know that's towards the end of the
I was
draft
thinking
anyway.
six or
So,
seven.
yeah. So, I know that's a huge guess for me, like almost at the back end, but I would have expected probably 6. I think 5 would have even been kind of, interesting. And to see him go 4th round is obviously it's awesome. So very excited for him.
Yeah. And when you're a fourth rounder, the likelihood of you staying on the team is so much higher. Just that investment there instead of fifth, sixth, or seventh, to me, it's a big difference for him. So he should be in a Chiefs uniform for a couple years, barring a trade or anything like that. But I think he's a player that could excel in the NFL more so than college, just because of how he was moved around a bit, the coaching staff changes and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think he could have a better NFL career than even college career, and he was a good player for us.
Yeah, and he might actually benefit from what he got in college, given some of the versatility he had to develop from all of that and the different styles. But then once you get to the elite level, it is better to have it a little bit more focused, a bit more, kind of pigeonholed, for lack of a better phrase, into like where you should be, and getting that same instruction is always beneficial for those guys. So yeah, we'll see.
We did have a couple other gentlemen like Silas pick up a UDFA deals. Dax is going to get a tryout. I saw a couple others, but there was nothing too major. We know that the talent level was a little low, and you'll even see ODU tweeting out there today. They had the best path to the NFL in Virginia because they had 3 guys drafted from ODU, and it was more than any other Virginia school. Okay. Yeah. Just last year, we had 4 drafted. The year before that, we had 4 drafted, 2 of which were in the first round.
Yeah,
Not so long ago, the Edmonds brothers both went in the first round.
yeah,
There's still talent coming through the doors at Tech. This was a light year, and we
yeah.
knew it was going to be a light year. Um, but yeah, I would assume that we will get back on top of that more often than not going forward. And that's why you're seeing the roster turnover that we have, is because we're trying to turn over these rooms.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. It's I mean, there's other all schools have their ebbs and flows of years. It just so happens where Virginia Tech is right now when we have a down year, it's pretty down at least in terms of the drafts, but it'll pick back up, especially moving forward. I think there's a lot of talent you and I have talked about that I think has NFL potential in the future, assuming that they continue to get good coaching, the development, and moving forward. I think there's more to come. I think on that front.
Absolutely, dude. So let's move to the recruiting because we did pick up a commitment last week from three-star defensive lineman Emmett Laws. 6'2" on Rivals, 6 foot on 247. Kind of a big discrepancy there. I'm under the impression he's on the shorter side. He's, I guess, a defensive tackle. He's 260, 265, 6 foot. I mean, he's a bowling ball. Like this,
Yes.
it's a big kid. But he had a Penn State offer, a Pitt offer, Georgia Tech, BC. People have talked about this online, but like if you're getting a Pitt defensive lineman offer, I'll take it because they've done a really good job of bringing in guys that might not be 4 stars or high end guys at all, and then getting them drafted. So I like the pickup of Laws.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and it is in a position that I think is definitely probably defensive end. You and I have talked about way more, but definitely somewhere that we could use somebody of his. I'd love to know his real height, but it's got to be on the lower end, like you said. But yeah, definitely a bowling ball of a guy, and Pitt. We can hate them as much as we want, but they've done an excellent job on that side of the ball, especially in the trenches.
Yeah, they really have, and it was interesting too. This kid's Dematha, right? And so
Hmm.
this is instant Brooks payoff potentially. I know JC's been in there, but when you have a Penn State offer and even a Pitt offer, which at this point on that position, I think was probably more highly thought of if you're a recruit or a coach in that position, this might have pushed it over the top, right?
Yep.
Getting a guy that he can know and trust from Dematha bloodline, like it's already paid dividends. I would assume that Brooks had something to do with this. So that's a nice pickup for us. Men's basketball. Before we get to the attrition, one thing about basketball, we got another transfer, Robbie Biran. He committed to Virginia Tech from Northwestern. He's already played a ton of basketball. He's played 120 games for them. 6'9", big guy. Not a ton of points or rebounds, just 7.5 and 4.5 in those two stats. But he's a defensive stalwart, and he's someone that will contribute. Is a veteran, and getting these big guys in your program at this stage in the game isn't easy. So I think this was a really valuable pickup by Mike Young.
Yep. And and a nice time for it as well. After the coaching changes that we had, I think it's nice to see that come in. And um, defense is definitely something that we needed at least some depth in. I think on
Yeah.
for the Hokies. So that's nice to pick up and have in his arsenal.
I'm not sure that we're completely done with the portal basketball wise, but with Nickel, him, and Makai Long coming in, it's a nice little trio of guys that they brought back to Tech this year. So we'll we'll be competitive. But let's not dive too much into basketball. Let's get to these portal entries before we have our guest on tonight. And maybe I didn't say it off the top, but we are having a guest on. It's in the title. Arash Tafakor, who is the owner proprietor of Downtown Crown and Dominion Wine and Beer, is going to be joining us in just a couple minutes here to just talk about the beer business. We're both beer guys, and I'm interested to get his thoughts on a variety of topics. But he's been kind enough to sponsor the podcast, so we wanted to get him on here to give us some knowledge of the beer business. And in the background on our feed is the fridges in his store. I kind of got that back to give you the vibe of what it's like over at Dominion Wine and Beer. But portal entries, Rob, there's been a bunch since the spring game, and we knew that some were coming. We even talked about potential on the last podcast, but I'll go through the names and then we'll kind of discuss how it impacts the team. Taj Bullock, quarterback, Devin Farrell, quarterback. The wide receiving room, we lost Dallin Wright and Christian Moss. Safety, Jalen Hoyle is now gone. Kyrie Moiston at defensive end. Cam Johnson and Elijah Howard, both at corner, are also gone. So that's 8 guys.
Yeah.
since the spring game ended. That's a number of guys, and I think we are down to 82 scholarships now, barring any portal additions, which I'm hoping that there are going to be some.
Yeah, that is that's a lot. So I guess what were we at? 90, what's the math?
We were
You
at
said?
just at 90.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was 95 before like the spring practice really got going. And then it cut down, and now it's cut down again. We're at 82.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. And the quarter, well, I guess probably everybody's going to latch on a little bit to the quarterbacks. Not all that surprising. I was a little surprised that there was two of them, especially that close together. But I think you and I were talking about one, potentially two of those guys, and I think we probably had the names right, and who were doing, especially Farrell. I don't know. I'm fine with it. I think we got a good group there. So not
That was
all
the
that
Pop Watson
surprising.
effect, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
it's got to be.
people
And
saw him light it up a little bit, even though it wasn't many plays. And we did talk about Farrell being the lowest on the totem pole. I wasn't necessarily thinking Taj would go just yet,
yeah,
but getting playing time with a guy like Drones his same year
yep,
in the program was going to be challenging.
yeah, I agree with that. And then um, Cam Johnson was a little bit surprising. That's somebody that probably was going to see the field and a good amount. So that one kind of stings. And so that's probably the one that shocked me the most, I think, out of all of them. And kind of stung. I don't know what your thoughts were.
Well, with Cam, yeah, he was our fourth corner,
Yeah.
and he was only fourth because we brought in Canteen. He would have
Mhm.
been maybe the third, or he was going to be in the two deep at one of those corner spots. And
Yep.
Elijah Howard, you might have been saying the same thing. We said those are probably the next two guys up after the top three, but that was an age thing because
Yeah.
Cotman came in and he looked good. And so maybe that scared off Cam Johnson. And also, Johnson's still light. I mean, he was
Yeah.
like 170 pounds or less. And so he wasn't putting on weight. I know it's only been a year and a half since he's been in the program, but nevertheless, we got 5, I think, DBs or corners coming in,
Yeah.
and they might have seen the writing on the wall that
Yep.
hey, I'm not going to play this year because they got 3 veterans, and then
Hmm.
next year I got to deal with all these freshmen that are coming in. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
It still surprised me because he was going to be in the two deep, he was going to play, and now we're thin. I mean, yes, I like the potential of Cotman. Mose Phillips coming in at safety, good potential there too. But behind Strong, Canteen, and Delaney, it's freshmen. Like
Yeah.
it's all freshmen.
Yeah. I don't know. That just seems so counter to just the competitive spirit. It should be like, one, he should be fighting for starting time, even with those guys, right? Even like, this year. I mean, there's still plenty of time before the season starts. Never mind the fact you shouldn't be looking ahead to the season after who you're going to be competing with. So I wonder if there might have been more at play, or as you said, he wasn't putting on weight, and the coaches just came to him and said, "Hey, it might it might not pan out for you."
Yeah,
And
it's there's no way to really know like whose
yeah.
decision it was at the end of the day because the coaches probably still has that power
Mhm.
to basically throw a kid off scholarship. Uh, I should say not use his scholarship for the team. They would still keep their scholarship.
Right.
Uh, but who knows? I would assume it was Cam Johnson's decision, but I do not know. At defensive end, we're losing Moiston. He didn't. He was only here for a minute, just like some of these other guys. But like we are so low with defensive ends, like that. Just losing another body is not something I wanted to see because we're already thin there, and we've talked that to death.
Yeah.
Christian Moss, I was surprised by that one
Yeah.
because he there was that spring hype. I don't know if it would have panned out because we didn't get to even see him in the spring game, but I wanted to find out if it was real. And there's just too many wide receivers. I mean, Dallin Wright, that was an easy one to predict,
Yeah.
but Christian Moss was not.
Yeah. And that one hurts. It hurts as well. And it comes back to what you and I talked about, and what you're hearing from the spring. Uh, one, a lot of times it doesn't matter, and in the sense that it doesn't come to fruition or we don't see it on the field. We saw it last year, and some of the people that we heard about before the season started, and two, it may not even come to the fruition because the person can transfer now, and it's like you wouldn't even know, and get to see what they're capable of. So that one was also a bit shocking and definitely sucks. So, but we also in that, I guess, in that same, you know, line, I think we need the roster spots. I
We
mean,
do.
I know we have a little bit of a buffer now, but those spots had to open up somewhere, and yeah, we'll have to see if they were the right places or the wrong places in the long
Right.
run.
It's the nature of turnover. If we want to go get an offensive lineman in the portal, and we're all hoping the kid from App State comes to Tech, you need an open spot for him. If you want to
Yep.
go grab a new defensive end, well, you might have to say goodbye to another defensive end. It just it depends because all of these coaches, all these position coaches, they have preferences,
Mhm.
and they have a certain dimension of athlete, they have a certain attitude of athlete that they want to coach, and maybe the guys that are filling that room are not what they want, even if they are could be good players somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so that's we're seeing that flip, and it's not a Colorado level of flip, like what's going on there with 60
Yeah.
guys leaving this year, but it's things are turning over. I mean, we've brought in a lot of new guys in this recruiting class and in the portal in a very short period of time.
I agree.
Um, Before we get to our guest, let's take a moment to talk about our sponsor. The Two Deep Hokies Under the Influence podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy app that allows you to make plays with our very own Hokies players. So come this fall, you'll be able to get some action on Allie Jennings receptions, on Malachi and Bryce Duke's yards, our quarterbacks touchdowns and yards. But in the meantime, you can make plays on NBA playoffs. My Sixers got a huge win without Joel Embiid last night. I was so jacked up about that. You can bet on MLB, golf, playoff hockey. It's lots of opportunities to get money in your pocket. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code Memory Lane for a deposit match up to $100. That's Memory Lane, all one word, for a deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy. And now let's add Arash to the stream. Yo,
Hey
what's up,
guys.
buddy?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good. We are welcoming in Arash Tafakor, the owner, co-owner, proprietor of Downtown Crown Wine and Beer and Dominion Wine and Beer, our beloved sponsor these past 2 seasons. Arash, thanks for coming on with us, buddy.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me as always.
Yeah.
And congrats on all that you guys have done. You know, you guys are doing a great job and I'm really proud of you guys.
Thanks. Yeah, you were you got in on the ground floor. We still might be there, but that's okay. You were there
Yeah.
too.
We're still in the ground floor, so it's perfect.
But
Yeah.
you can see, hopefully you can see your store in the background of our feed here. This is just a shot of you got the fridges in the background at Arash's Virginia location. But we wanted to bend your ear a little bit just about the beer business in general. You deal with it day in and day out. And I guess I'll just start at the beginning. How did you get into this business? Now, am I under the assumption your family had started this before?
Yeah, so my dad came to this country I think in 1969 from Iran. He worked his way from being a taxi driver to a waiter to he had a pizza shop in DC, and then he eventually bought a liquor store in DC. And then from there, he made enough money to buy this wine and beer store in Montgomery County in Bethesda. And then at that time, I believe it was like 92, we were still going to school, but, it was a part of our life because it's all, in this country, it's just my mom, my dad, and my brother and I. So we don't really have much family. So it was a family business from there. I worked there during high school, did some, trunk deals with guys on the football team, stuff like that. I remember selling 30 packs for $20. It was great. Anyways, after that, after high school, went to JMU for a little bit, but always still was go there during summer work. I would work Sundays and, just learn the business. And then after I graduated, I think I tried to find some jobs. I didn't really try that hard, but, every time I was pretty discouraged trying to find a job on my own. And I always thought, I know this is what I know. I remember doing a business plan on a brewery back in 2001. And looking back, sometimes I wish I did follow through with that business plan because it would have things would have been a little bit different. But I was really wanted to go to school, but the business plan was a really good business plan. I remember our business professor saying like, "This is one of the better business plans I've ever seen out of my 20, 30 years." It worked really well because I had all the marketing materials. I think that's what really set us apart with that business plan. And it was, I had like back then. You remember all the signs and everything that those breweries would come out like Coors Light and
You
like
got to hang them up in your apartment back in the day.
right,
Yeah.
right. So we made our own label and we put it on those we just put it over those signs and we put it over those beer bottles and it just set us apart. But it was like a precursor of what things are gonna how things are gonna go with all the artwork and stuff like that. So yeah, I had it in me and I knew if my dad could do it, I could surely do it. So I started working there even more, and I really learned the business, from what you do and then when you first get in till you close. And I worked a lot of hours there. So I always was looking for another spot. Our family was, and that's how we found Downtown Crown. And then I signed a lease there in 2012. It didn't get open until 2014 because it was a brand new development. It was a risky situation because it wasn't even built yet. But I knew that, my experience in my dad's store, that craft beer was, about to boom. And it already was kind of booming, just not that many people knew about it. At those times, Dogfish was putting out new SKUs every 2 to 3 weeks. And so was Sam Adams. And there was all these seasonals. So it was a lot of fun. And there was more and more SKUs coming. And then there was more breweries popping up. So I always knew there was going to be a boom there. And I thought to myself, obviously, if I open it, people will come. But we love selling wine too. So it was beer was easy for me because, I think at the time I was 28 years old. By the time we opened, I was 31, I believe. But anyways, when we opened it, beer was easy for me because, I was the target market. I learned it all in my 20s. And then, we knew we could bring in people with beer, and then the wine, we would try to bring them in and sell wine. But what really set us apart at Downtown Crown and now Dominion is the on-premise the on-premise concept where you can have a beer and shop, or have a glass of wine and shop. So they're pretty dynamic businesses, as you know, and that's something that I saw. Remember Whole Foods back in the day had the bar in there. People would go to Whole Foods,
Robbie
have a
knows
drink.
it well.
Yeah, exactly. The Fair Lakes one, right? I was talking about that the other day. Do you remember that, Robbie? The Fair Lakes one?
Yeah, and I used to go to the Vienna one all the time because it was it was the only bar in Vienna that had craft beer.
I remember that. Yeah.
Nothing else really had any good craft beer. I guess they would have maybe Goose Island at Vienna Inn, but that was really it. So it was me and the other guys in town would go to Whole Foods.
Right. So, there was a couple places in Montgomery County that were doing that had this license so you could sell on and off. And they were much smaller. So I was like, if we bring this concept into a big space, have big retail beer, have a lot of shelves for wine, and have a really nice bar with tall ceilings, it just worked out really well. And as you know, at Dominion, we actually opened up that at the same time with my brother, at the same time as Downtown Crown opened in 2014. That was just a store for about 5 years, and then we had the opportunity to lease the two upstairs floors. And obviously, we wanted to do an on-premise concept as well there with the kitchen.
And so I did want to touch on that wine and beer thing because you guys don't sell liquor, and it's a different license, different regulations, and all that kind of stuff. Was there, and in Virginia, liquor has their own stores. Was there a particular reason you did that, or did you just not want to get into the liquor game? Is because you knew beer better, or what?
So it's not. There's a couple answers to that. Obviously, we knew what we know. We know what we know, right? We know that we could sell beer and wine in Montgomery County, and the way Maryland is set up, and Montgomery County is set up a completely different way than the rest of the state. But the way Maryland as a whole state is set up is you can only have one alcohol off-premise license per corporation. So any giant in the state of Maryland can technically only sell beer and wine in one location. Okay. So if we put ourselves next to a really busy grocery store that doesn't sell beer and wine, then people have no choice but to go to that beer and wine store. That being said, Montgomery County is also a controlled county, where it's the most controlled county in the whole country. I think it's more control with liquor than alcohol and liquor than Canada and Russia. I mean, it's really very controlled. It's a pure monopoly. But that being said, like, that's why it was advantageous to do that beer and wine concept in Montgomery County, next to downtown Crown's, right next to a Harris Teeter that is really centrally located, very convenient, has tons of parking. So that was one of the main reasons. The second reason is, like, growing up with my dad and him coming home after working 10-hour shifts, open to close, off Blandersburg Road, like in what he, it wasn't the best neighborhood, where he had a 2-inch bulletproof glass in front of him, and actually sold the business when it was doing great. Wasn't very appealing. When his security guard,
he did sell
shot,
liquor, and you're saying it opened him up to robberies.
Oh
and things
yeah,
like
it was
that.
robberies, shootings. When I went in there was like a bullet hole in the bulletproof glass. Like, you have the spin thing. Like, you can't. It was dangerous, and it wasn't that glamorous. It wasn't about glamour. It was always about making money. But he always instilled it into us that it's just not worth it over there in DC. So, looking back on it, Montgomery County has, obviously we cracked the code in downtown Crown, but Montgomery County is the worst county to do business in. It's very, very difficult, because we not only we can't sell liquor there. The rest of the state of Maryland, you can have my license and sell liquor, right? But Montgomery County, you cannot. And then also, we have to buy all our beer and wine from the county warehouse. So a salesman will come up to us and try to sell us a wine. We have to, if we order that, we have to order through the Montgomery County Alcohol Beverage Services. So looking back on it, like, sometimes I do think, like, the play would have been to open a liquor store along the border of Montgomery County, because those liquor stores absolutely kill it in Frederick and Howard County and DC, because nobody wants to buy their beer, wine, liquor in MoCo, really, because of the way the system is.
That's crazy, because I worked in Chevy Chase, and I remember I would come out of work and go through a Whole Foods, and they don't sell any beer or wine at that Whole Foods. So I'd get it on the way home. But I remember I would go to places around there, and I would ask them, like, can you guys get this? And they would always, and I would go into Bethesda and other places, and they were like, yeah, we got to get in touch with, like, the warehouse. And I was like, what warehouse is this? And they're like, yeah, we got to get in touch with the warehouse. You don't know the warehouse? And I was like, what is it? They're like, yeah, Montgomery County controls, like, the warehouse that has all of, like, the distribution to everybody. I was like,
yeah, it's
crazy.
It's gotten worse over the years, and also my main issue is we pay 30% more. So you see in that background that the Fighting Hokies from Hardywood, the distributor will sell that to the county at, let's just say, $10, $10 a 6-pack, and then the county would turn around and sell it to me for $13 a 6-pack. Wow. So you could just see, like, on a product that the wholesale price isn't that much, 30% is quite significant. You know what I mean? Because that at Dominion is $12.99, and then at downtown Crown it's $15.99, and people aren't stupid; they know, So that should answer your question.
I was going to follow up with who's easier to deal with, Virginia or Maryland, but you answered my question there.
It's not even close. Virginia's great. The thing about Virginia is, we know that the state sells liquor, right? We know that, everything, there's a lot of fixed variables in Virginia. We know the price. We know the competition is going to get the same price. We know that, the liquor stores sell liquor. And then from there on, it's a level playing field, and, may the best business win. You know what I mean? Right. That's what I really like about it. And, and in Virginia, believe it or not, it's called a franchise state when it comes to distribution of wine and beer. It's a little complicated, but for some reason, Virginia, through the way they are set up, it really has the best wholesale prices for wine in the country. It's and the access that we have to some of the best wines in the world is really good. So
And
I
you're not
really
even
enjoy
talking
Virginia.
about Virginia wines, right? Like you're talking about just wines everywhere.
Yeah, Virginia wines is funny because like all the good Virginia wineries, like they just sell them at their wine stores. You know what I mean? Or sorry, at their winery. So
Right, right, right.
it's yeah, I'm talking about like Burgundies, really
Mhm.
good Bordeaux's, really good California stuff. They'll find the wineries will find a way to sell them to Virginia.
That's
It's
awesome.
just a really good
That's
market
awesome,
for
dude.
us. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, let's get to the beer question because this is the stuff I think our listeners would be really interested in. And the biggest thing for me when I walk into your store, I'm always blown away by the selection, particularly at the Dominion location because it is in Virginia and you tend to have more Virginia beers in there. But how do you even begin in this day and age of beer to pick your inventory? Is it sales reps? Is it your employees that have an expertise? Is it you and your taste? How do you go about that?
So, I really need to give a shout out to our general manager, David Burks. He has become like a really good friend of mine, and we talk almost every day about the business and like the state of our businesses and the way the market's going. And again, Virginia, you deal with certain distributors. So right now at Dominion, uh, we deal with the distributors that sell like the Miller Lite, the big stuff, all the way to a distributor that only sells to like a few customers because they get these breweries that have give them like 50, 60 cases, but they know those 50, 60 cases can go to these 10 locations and they're done with it. So we're lucky that we have really good uh, relationships with these smaller distributors that do get us the stuff that really moves out of Dominion. But also, we buy from the big guys that have the Hardywood, that have the, like I would say like a Fairwinds or a Solace, or the New Belgium. You know what I mean? There's
Mhm.
distributors that have everything, and you just got to see what sells. The thing is that we want to sell to everybody. Every part of the market is important. We obviously sell more of the super craft beer stuff than the macro stuff, but we still would try to get those macro customers. So the macro customers these days are like the Sierra Nevada people, the Fairwinds people. So the Solace and the Athlon and stuff like that. So the market's changed, but we really rely on our partners and distribution. And then when they get a new brewery, we'll always try it out. You know what I mean? We'll see how the market reacts to it, how people buy it, how it's received. And in Virginia, Untapped is kind of a big deal for whatever reason. People rate beer, and when a distributor is introducing a new brewery, we can really tell what people think based on Untapped. So it's like, okay, well, they get pretty good ratings, so let's give it a shot.
And
So there's a lot of ways that we pick.
And I'm sure that's a very complicated. It's a complicated question. I wanted the overview, and you did a
Yeah,
good job of it. And when you say macro, you're talking about your bigger breweries, your Sam Adams, your Dogfish, your Sierra Nevada. You sell,
right.
particularly at Dominion. I mean, the amount of it's a lot of breweries not living down there full time that I haven't even heard of. Of course, I know the heavy hitters, but of the craft world. But you're right; it's a lot of smaller micro nano breweries that come into your place, and that just seems to me like you got to be doing the market research to find that stuff.
So yes, but we really do rely on two specific small distributors that go out and get those beer, make the relationships. But it's also if we find a brewery that we want, we'll introduce them to that distributor. But I got to be honest, they're doing a lot of the work, and like they're just like us. They're like, hey, we brought this brewery in. Let's find out how it does. Like, it's almost like really just like throw darts sometimes, because there's so many different breweries out there, and if one doesn't sell, like there's so much good beer, like on to the next. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's
Yep.
almost like gotten pretty bad with saying no to things because we use. It's funny because our guy Dave and I talk about this like and especially with his job is picking the breweries and stuff like our inventory. We used to care when we wouldn't get like a specific brewery or like a specific beer from a brewery. Like, for instance, like let's just say, for example, Goose Island Bourbon County Stout, like, that was so hard to
Yep.
get like back in the day. And, we used to like, be upset if we only got like 3 cases and someone else got 5 cases. Now, if they don't give it to us, like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Like, it's like, this brewery from, Burial is making this like stout that's like 50 times better anyway. So it's just, the market has changed in that aspect. But Dave does a really, really good job of picking inventory along with the communication he has with our distributors.
Question about that. So it's funny. Pete and I have talked about this on the podcast a bunch, and it's how you started the conversation, which is talking about Sam Adams and Goose back when they were the microbrew, kind of like the scene when it was like, man, they're putting out like Oktoberfest and they got the summer and that kind of stuff. And then they became the Budweiser of craft beer. And then now, I mean, I remember, getting Partly Cloudy was like awesome. And then now Solace is like huge. Like Solace is
Right.
like kind of moved up into that spot. How does it evolve like that, where the small guys then become the big guys, and then, like what's going to happen to them? Like at some point, doesn't it get saturated? Like, and then does the mid tier just get stuck there at some point, or is it always just the tastes are changing, the breweries are moving?
That's a good question, and what I'm about to say might be a surprise. So this market that we're in right now, you guys know, back in 2020 and 2021, like it didn't matter. It was like a hot brewery. You could sell like 500 cases, like, especially during COVID. Like it was crazy, right? People were doing drops, like we would sell 50 cases of literally one beer. You know what I mean? That doesn't happen anymore, right? So people are still buying beer, and they're still buying. The pie is still there. The pie is just in many different slices now. Everyone's buying different little bit of each little category, whether it be like, craft, super crafty, or, a brewery on like Solace's side, or Sam Adams or Dogfish. But the thing about the Sam Adams, the Dogfish, even the Solace, where they're at, they, believe it or not, we're selling more of that, those kinds of products than we ever have been before. Okay. Not many people can drop $20, $24, or want to drop $20 to $24 on a 4-pack. Right.
Yeah.
But when now you get like a New Belgium, like for instance, like their hazy series or whatever it is. And even
The
like
Voodoo
Sam
Ranger.
Adams. Yeah. The Voodoo Ranger series,
Yeah.
even like the Sam Adams little hazy, Sierra Nevada little hazy thing, or hazy thing. And like those series of beers that they've made are cranking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Partly Cloudy is cranking. You know what I mean? So again, the market has changed in terms of price points, and people aren't going to buy a small brewery they've never heard of that might have not the best ratings at $22 a 4-pack. They just might not. They're not doing that as much. You know what I mean?
And I speak to that personally. Like, it used to be, you'd go to Tired Hands in Pennsylvania, big brewery, would make the milkshake IPAs. You drop 20, sometimes $24 on a 4. And you would do it because it was rare. You'd wait in line, you do all this stuff. Now you go to the store. If it's a 4-pack and it's over $15, like, I'm moving on. Like, I'm not
Right.
even doing it, because there are just as good beers under
Right.
that $15. And not everyone wants, particularly me, as I get a little bit older here, I don't always want a 9% IPA. Like, I want the hazy little things. I just put on our Twitter page this week on Too Deep, what is the best hazy IPA under 7%? Like, and I was trying to go for mass produced things that everyone can get. And it was Hazy Little Thing, Mind Haze, there's a couple others. And, the poll ended up with Hazy Little Thing because it's a good beer. It's inexpensive. So you always know you're going to get a good product with Sierra Nevada. And I think people are kind of going back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what happened
absolutely.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah,
I went back. I
funny.
did the full circle. Yeah.
I mean, literally, 2 days on Monday, the Sierra Nevada rep was in there. This guy named Brad. He's like the chain store reps. He's hilarious. Like, he always has a tan because he's going to Costa Rica, like, all the time. We think he's like, he looks like Ken Grossman, the founder. We think, like, we don't know what's going on, but he's not related. But I'm pretty sure he looks exactly like us. But he has the best like brewery job you can get, because he's the chain store manager of the nation for Sierra Nevada, and he can he works remotely or whatever. But we were just telling him how big of a beast Sierra Nevada is for us at Downtown Crown and my father's store at Georgetown Square in Bethesda, because again we sell a lot more macro than Dominion does. It's just a beast, and that's just where the market is kind of going to. Again, I think it's price point and accessibility, and everyone's making really good quality beer.
Yeah.
A
And
lot of people are,
I think
especially
it's one more thing is also you would get burned sometimes on like that $20 4-pack. So like
yeah,
before I quit drinking, I had like gone full circle back to like just like I'm gonna get a 6-pack of hazy little thing because I know exactly what I'm getting. I know it's not like crazy hoppy, high alcohol content. It's just like a good beer because it's like I've gotten those 4-packs where I was like, oh cool, new brewery, blah blah, blah. I've got it, and I've been like, this sucks, and I just spent like
yeah,
$20 on it, So
yeah.
yeah,
It is.
absolutely.
What used to complain to me, Arash, about the beer nerds, and they'd call up your store and they'd be like asking you, "Can you get this Three Floyds beer from the middle of Indiana? Can you get this beer from Minnesota? And you'd be like, "No, dude, just come in and see what we have," or whatever. Are you getting less of those beer nerd calls and requests these days?
Oh yeah, for sure. It wasn't really the beer nerds. It was always like, it was just customers in general. They'd be like, "Do you have this like, brewery in Nebraska? I had it one time, and like, and my son-in-law's like town that he grew up in is this brewery. Can you get it?" It's like, no, they don't send that. They're too small, or we would always get like, "Oh, do you have this beer called Piney the Elder?" I'm like, "No, I wish." Like,
Yeah.
They don't
but
distribute
yeah,
it to me. Yeah.
yeah. I think the especially the people that are really into beer are much more educated on what they can get and what they can't get, and like the whole market, and like in terms of supply and the demand of it. And there's a lot of online sales now. If breweries do want to send beer across country, they are. So yeah, not as much obviously, but I think the consumer is much more educated on that.
So you were talking, and we were talking a little bit about the hazies. They're obviously a huge segment for any craft beer lover. Most people who love craft beer love IPAs, and in particular, love a New England style hazy IPA. What trends are you seeing? Is that hazy trend still at peak power? The pumpkin thing that we saw for a number of years and still happens every year in September. Is that still as big as it used to be? And what other trends are there that you're seeing in the beer industry?
So the beer industry and trends change monthly. Like I'm not joking. It's very hard to predict. But in general, when it comes to IPAs, just like we talked about, the hazy beers is at the under 7%, the 6.5% hazies crush on tap in package. Those do really well. There has been an emergence of West Coast style IPAs, especially on tap. Those crush on tap because you get the 50-year-old craft beer drinker, like about 10 to 15 years older than us. Their first craft beer was West Coast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They tried the hazy thing, the hazy beers, and they probably did it for a year or two, and then realized that they were gaining the pounds, and maybe getting heartburn at this time at the point of their lives. So they're back to the clear stuff. They're back to the clear West Coast 7%. And then what was your other question? What was
The
the other part
pumpkin
of that?
thing.
Oh, the pumpkin thing. So it's funny because 2021 was awesome for pumpkin. We did, we predicted it. We kind of went heavy. We got them in August. Everyone complained, "Oh, it's so early for pumpkin." Well, this is when we're going to get it, and it's going to be out. The way we do it is we want to be out by the end of September. Like we want it gone because the winter beers are going to come out in, September 15th. So
Mm-hmm.
we want to get through that inventory. The brewery schedules for all these pumpkin breweries, they start brewing that stuff in July, and then they start bringing it out in August. So 2021, we did a really good job of inventory and like buying the correct amount and moving it, and we bought a lot. 2022, we did the same thing, but it kind of dropped a little bit. But it's just hard to say. I do think pumpkin beer will always be important in my mind. It's a really good seasonal. It's a really good American seasonal. It's Thanksgiving. It's fall. It's football. It's just cool. I love it. And like the original pumpkin beer in my eyes was the Dogfish Pumpkin. If you ever saw me on Facebook, you'll see like my pictures of the Dogfish Pumpkin stacks. Like because it what really was like one of the best seasonals. In craft beer's infancy. So Yes, it was down a little bit, but not as much as you would think. And it'll still, there's still a part of the beer market for that, really, but it is down a little bit. But I think a lot of things are down.
We need to talk about two segments in particular. One is ready to drink cocktails and seltzers. And then I want to talk about the non-alcoholic segment because one half of this podcast has been reviewing a bunch of non-alcoholic beers this past year. But with regard to ready to drink and seltzers, you were saying that a lot of your sales are coming from all over the place now. Is that taking up a lot of percentage at this point?
So seltzers for sure. Yeah, like I hate to bring up Montgomery County again, but we're not allowed to sell RTDs in our Montgomery County store. It kills me because it's still 5%, but since it's liquor based, the county liquor stores take that business. Yeah, it's awful. At Dominion, we missed the mark a little bit on seltzers. They didn't embrace seltzers at the right time when it comes to that kind of customer. They were always into, we were always into craft beer a little bit, which is great, and it's paying off still today. But we missed that segment at Downtown Crown. However, we knew seltzers were going to be like the next thing. So we still have a large amount of our retail floor space for seltzers, not RTDs, unfortunately. I think if we sold High Noon and all that stuff, man, it would be a lot. Like sales would be much much better in that segment. Yeah, for sure.
That's a good differentiator because I'm not sure everyone knows the difference. That
right.
High Noon seems like it's seltzer, but it's not.
Right. So I think there's two parts of the RTD segment: the High Noons, which are liquor-based seltzers, and then the actual RTDs, like the Crown Royal, like apple whiskey, and then like I think Kettle One has them. You see them at bars, and like even like there's nothing different between those cans and the draft cocktails that you're getting at some bars these days. That being said, we can sell RTDs at Dominion. They've struggled a little bit with them, but what I'm seeing is those High Noon, those liquor-based RTDs that are seltzers, are doing really well. And then the RTDs, which are the cocktail cans, I don't know too much, but from outside looking in, I don't think those are doing like really that well because there's so many. I don't know. Do you drink those RTDs?
I got to be honest, I do not. And I will drink a High Noon here and there if it's hot out, if on the beach. But I'm pretty much just a straight beer guy at this point. I'll have a White Claw at a picnic or something, but no. The short answer is no.
Yeah, my wife has just gone. The tequila High Noon is now a tequila based versus vodka based, and I was there like 4 women that she was with each had it, and they were like, "This is."
Oh, my wife loves the
they absolutely love the tequila based one. Like I was like, okay, I don't know. So
yeah, I think the winners are the High Noon is the seltzers. Still, they're doing really well.
Cutwater's another big company, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're doing really well as well because that's they're easy drinking. They're liquor and they taste like a little bit of sugar, not too much, and people like that.
How much non-alcoholic beer are you selling these days? Do you keep it in stock? What's your deal on non-alcoholic?
Oh, yeah. So we Downtown Crown, we really take pride on our non-alcoholic section. We have all the good German ones, all the good macro ones, and it's I never would have thought that we would have a little bit of a cold section for non-alcoholic beer. when people growing up like and working at my dad's store. The older generation would come in and ask for the non-alcoholic beer, and they'd always ask for a cola. And I'm like, dude, I can't dedicate space to Old Duels. I'm just not going to do it. You know what I mean? And it's funny. We don't sell. Now that I think about it, we have Old Duels sometimes, but Old Duels doesn't sell as much as like I guess like the Athletic Brewing Crushes now. That's a monster. And then the Corona has an NA beer, and then all the classic German ones, Beck's, Erdinger, Clausthaler. I mean, we do really well with them.
Yeah.
Right? Heineken. And like, back to like our whole thing about, why we're good at what we do is we really are obviously customer service friendly, trying to give customers the best experience, but also we'll never, not want to sell to what customers want. And if that's a trend and all these breweries are coming out with these cool non-alcoholic packages, we're going to carry them. You know what I mean? Because like we're going to give them a shot, and we knew the NA market kind of exploded as well in the past couple of years, and so is our floor space with it. Again, we have some cold. I never thought we would have cold NA beer.
Yeah, it's changed. I mean, I go to I'll go when I can't make it over to Dominion, or make it over if I'm just running down the street. I'll go to hit up Norm's real quick. You probably know them. They're in Vienna, and they're asking me now, like, what do you like? Because I'm in there. I buy probably more NA beer than anybody that they have, and they're like, is this one good? Is this one? And now, I mean, there was Guinness Zero, which is awesome, but I remember the first time I had the Sam Adams IPA, non-alcoholic, just non-alcoholic, just the haze, and I was like, dude, this is coming out of COVID with the spike in how much people were drinking. I was like, this stuff's gonna boom. I was like, if it can taste this good, I was like, and I was getting sober at the time. Like, I was like, I can do it with this beer here. And then now you have like the Uncool IPA. There's just a lot of good like craft non-alcoholics, and I was like, this is manageable because I love beer. Like, fundamentally, I was like, this is at ends with what I actually like is like to drink and socially like to drink. And now it's starting every year getting a little bit better. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If you follow us on Downtown Crown, and we'll see what our new arrivals, you'll see like any like new SKU of the NA beer there. Just I'll let you know if some cool German one comes, because some of the German ones are delicious.
They're awesome.
And like some of them are hard to get, really.
Yeah, the Europeans have been doing non-alcoholics forever. I mean, this is it's just
we were behind the curve on that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Arash, do you still have like 10 more minutes?
Yeah, for sure.
Because the reason I asked that, I want to take a short break from our conversation. I want to play a clip of when we did a live podcast at Arash's store. And this is going to link back to when hazies were first bursting on the scene. This was, I want to say 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of having some fun with one of our friends, Richard, who was a Kentucky fan, because we were playing Kentucky in basketball. So me and Rob went to Downtown Crown. We did a live pod. We had two friends from Kentucky, the Drake brothers, come on and talk about it. And Arash wanted to have some fun with our friend Richard at the tail end of the pod. We're a little inebriated at this point.
They're all juice bombs.
You don't like it? Like,
no, I'm sick of you people who are sitting here clogging up my choice of taps with your stupid hop shit and your stupid juice bombs and your stupid 600-calorie beers, making me be 250 pounds. I don't need that shit. Here's what I need. I need a nice lager. I need a nice pilsner. I don't need two. By the way, you only have one of each.
Yeah, you need to calm down.
I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. Can we get back to the place? The worst part is you go to Whole Foods now, and you're like, hey, I'd like a nice Pilsner. And the beer guy in the aisle's like, here, try this one. And it's full of fucking hops. Like, get the hell out of here, you nerdy beer guy.
Hey, old man yelling at cloud. Stop yelling at the clouds, all right?
Anyhow, okay, so this beer tastes like, tastes like a screwdriver. I guess that's good. Whatever.
Okay, for anyone that's listening, let me make something clear, okay? Richard actually didn't go to Kentucky. Neither did Mike.
Mike did go to Kentucky.
Richard went to Virginia Tech, okay? He also went to JMU, okay? What this bozo doesn't know is...
He also went to Nova Community College.
Yeah.
Northern Virginia Community College.
What this bozo doesn't know is I didn't actually pour him a New England IPA. I actually poured him a little bit of Old English and orange juice. So the joke
that
is
would
on
explain
you.
why it tasted like
The
a
joke
screwdriver.
is on you, okay? That's what you get for being such an old man hater. That's what you get, Richard. You get OE and orange juice.
This is
OE and orange juice.
This is the best prank in that it doesn't invalidate anything I said. And
all right, that's enough of that. But, yeah, we had to. You played the prank. You poured him Old English and OJ. You called it the juice bomb, and so in honor of that, I am drinking the Sloop Juice Bomb.
Oh, nice! That's a really good beer.
it's a solid beer. It's a good hazy. It's not too strong. It's 6.5, just like we were talking about.
Right.
But that clip was so, and that was like hour and 20 minutes into that podcast recording. It was way too long, and we were just having fun at that point. But it was hilarious, and honestly,
that was a good show.
It probably did taste like some of the bad IPAs that are out there, honestly.
I mean, it definitely looked like one. You know, it had that orange glow and He did call. He was like, this doesn't taste right, but
Tastes like a screwdriver.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Screw your IPA, screw you guys.
Before I get into some of the stuff that's coming up at your store, I wanted to address just the Bud Light controversy. We're not going to go into details of all the politics of it, but has it impacted the sales of one of the biggest brands in America for you personally? And if so, what are people turning to? Are they just going to another Crispy Boy? Are they going to other stuff? How's that gone for you guys?
So for us specifically in Montgomery County and where we sell it, it hasn't changed one bit. It probably sold more. It's funny because I think when I was texting,
You
I was
are in DC, basically.
yeah, I didn't even know about it, and then some of the other reps were talking about it and how it has affected some places. So for instance, like what I heard, which is like whatever, like the Eastern Shore of Maryland, like people were just dropping Bud Light lines, and then where people were getting were the local lagers, which the local lagers now you can get for literally the same price as a Bud Light keg nowadays, because Bud Light's not cheap anymore either. It really isn't. The price of ingredients has gone up. So when something like that happens, and you're in a certain area, certain demographic that wasn't too pleased with Bud Light, it's an easy sell for a salesman to be like, hey, I'm one of you, like get my put my beer on tap, my light beer on tap, and you're gonna make just as much money, and but for us it was no difference. But what I heard is that it did affect them pretty big in the certain areas and certain demographics for sure.
Yeah, you're definitely not in the market that would be affected as much. It wouldn't seem
No.
based on
We're
the
in
things
the-
I've read and other things like that.
We're in the market where no bad advertising. Sorry, what's a
Yeah.
saying?
All good, all
Yeah.
PR is good PR, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what our area is with that. If anything, like it's probably increased. I mean, but I haven't really
That's funny.
looked into it too much.
So one thing that we always thought set your store apart was your staff, and you mentioned your GM who helps find the beers and everything. They seem knowledgeable, friendly every time we're in there. How did you, as an owner, create that culture? What goes into your hiring process? Do you have like a criteria that you stick to? Could you talk about that a little bit for us?
It's actually it's not rocket science. When you are a leader, or you want to be a leader, you want to be. I don't really like the term boss. I don't really like the term they're my employees. It's a team, right? And there needs to be a leader of a team, a coach, whatever it may be. But we're all teammates. We're all coworkers. So if the leader and the coach is showing them how it's done and teaching them how it's done, in terms of creating a great customer service. When the customer comes in, greeting them, saying, "Hi, how are you? Is there anything I help you with?" And then once they need help, just going above and beyond, and really pretending like they care, you care, not pretending, really caring, and just treat customers the way that if you walk into a small business, how you want to be treated, and that goes, the way you do that is by just showing them. That's it. I mean, a small business is a community thing, so treat the community really well, and the community will be loyal. It's not easy. We go up against some major competition when it comes to other retail stores, like Total Line, all the grocery stores, and then other small businesses. So you really have to set yourself apart with customer service, customer experience, and just treating people nicely and helping them and being honest and fair prices. There's a lot that goes into it, but it really is pretty simple. Just treat customers well.
And your staff really is. I mean, you obviously are an advertiser for us, but like Robbie was going there long before you ever.
Yeah.
You've always had great stores whenever I've been down there and visiting, and the food situation and the tap situation, particularly at Dominion, because correct me if I'm wrong, but downtown Crown they have some small bites, but you allow people to bring in food, correct?
Yeah, we don't have a kitchen there now.
Yeah, but that's a great differentiator for you as well in terms of people coming in for multiple reasons, as you're talking about. That helps differentiate you from the grocery stores and whatnot, and I would assume gives you a big advantage in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the customer experience. You know, like where else can you go get a really good meal and, you know, go downstairs and buy what you either drank upstairs, whether it be a wine or beer, you can go get it downstairs. Or, you know, you could try, you know, 24 different beers, you can try 16 different wines. And then, you know, again, it'll be available at a really good, fair price downstairs. And you can talk to the staff upstairs. You can talk to the staff downstairs about the product. You know, they're all pretty well versed in that. We also do, you know, really cool festivals. Like we have a rosé festival coming up this Saturday at Dominion. That I love doing those things because you have two time periods where people can come. You come 12 to 2 or 2 to 4. You taste 30 different rosés for $15. I mean, I love wine, and you know that sounds great to me. And you know, obviously, women know that as well. And, you could try all these 2022 vintage rosés and see which ones you like. But right afterwards, you can go get brunch, you know, in the same spot. So you know, that's part of it. It's dynamic. You know, it does set us apart. There are competitors that I'm not sure why they don't do that. They're stuck in their old ways or whatever. You know.
Yeah, you guys have done a lot of different initiatives. You've got the taps, you've got Crowlers a couple years back. You've done beer collaborations where you basically, I don't know if you'd call it brewing your own beer, but you were in on brewing a beer with some breweries like Other Half. I know you did the all DMV everything with them. Really
Yeah.
cool initiative. And you talk about the festivals. Is there anything else that you guys are doing? I mean, you seem to be always pushing the envelope. You keep extending your outdoor space at Dominion as well. Every time I go, I feel like there's something new.
Well, the thing is, it goes back to you know, and I'm always working. I work a lot. I want to say workaholic, but we always want to be the best. Because again, there's a lot of competition, and you know, when it comes to, you know, owning a small business, you kind of have for me, there's always a fear that you know, at any point it could end. You know what I mean? Like you just never know the market. Like having, you know, if we were in a different kind of business during the pandemic, you know, what would have happened, right? So think about how many people had small businesses during the pandemic that were closed. We were one of the lucky ones that were almost, you know, were essential. So we always have that fear that, you know, this has a finite amount of time. So we're always working to do new stuff. You know, obviously we have some, you know, collabs on the way. You know, one of the collabs that's going to come soon to Dominion Downtown Con is Equilibrium. You know, they have a really good knowledge of hazies, but good hazies, and we got a really good one coming. That's actually right in the wheelhouse. It's 6.5%, 7%, and it's gonna be delicious. Their pricing has really come down in the past few years, and it's really good. Other than that, we are continuing to work on the restaurant side of things. We do have something new coming up. I really can't talk about it at this point, but what in general this new thing is going to do for us is it's going to activate all concepts. So not only can you get retail wine and beer, you can get the you know, go to the restaurant, you can go outside, but this new concept will really meld with that. You know what I mean? So it's still going to be a dynamic business, but all is one. And it'll go well with our retail presence, our restaurant presence, our festivals, and you know, we're just working as, you know, as trying to do something else that I can't talk about. I wish I could, but they're all going to have this synergy together, and it's going to be.
I was
awesome.
waiting for the synergy word. I was waiting for it. The corporate word. It was coming. There it is. No,
I'm not corporate though.
That's
Yeah.
I know, but that synergy, that collaboration, like you guys, but dude, you guys run your place so well. It's honestly a well-oiled machine over there, and I can't wait to see what it is. But
Yeah.
at this
I
point,
can tell you off the air, but I just can't.
And honestly, it is a huge kudos what you guys did with the restaurant as well. You know, if you went to, I mean, the chips are really stacked against you there. Like the restaurant business is very, very hard. So if you were to say like, hey, in years, like we're thinking about doing a restaurant. My dad was in the restaurant business for 45 years, almost his entire life. Right. Like in it, you know, until he died, and it'll grind you down. And, you know, I probably would have been like, dude, it's really hard, but the fact that you guys did it and the food is so good. And I mean that honestly, like it is awesome. And the fact that you guys pulled it off so well, it's an incredible kudos to you and everybody that pulled it off, because it's awesome.
Yeah, and you get a main beer company lunch with your lunch, which is you can't get that just about anywhere else. So it's that's what I love about Dominion and Downtown Crown. Obviously, we've recorded the podcast there. It's a beautiful place. So make sure you hit up both of those places this fall, this summer, this spring, whatever. They're awesome, and hopefully we'll be having Arash back on the podcast in the future and back as a sponsor in the future. But for now, thank you so much for coming on and talking a little bit about the beer business with us, man. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. I do want to mention one thing. I don't know if you remember, Robbie, Pete's bachelor party in Tampa, when you told me how good of how you love Dominion. You come there all the time, and I always ask you, like, even when you told me you come, like, I'm like, are you sure you really like it? Like, are you sure? Like, did you really like that sandwich? And I know you did, but you were like, Rosh, like, stop asking me, stop being hard on yourself. You're doing good. And, I always appreciated that. But that goes back to what you said about the restaurant business. We really still are we're still not where we would like to be with the restaurant side of things, because it is so hard. It does take so many years to learn it and learn how to be profitable. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Like, turn to me and you're like, Rush, stop.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said,
stop doubting yourself.
Yeah, don't, because I would have just said nothing. I don't like saying mean stuff to people, so like I would have just said nothing. But like I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it, because I remember going in there with my wife the first time we sat down, and I told Pete about this, and I said it on the podcast, like the first time that I got the dragon shrimp, and
the dragon
I was
shrimp,
like kind of worried, and I said to my wife I was kind of worried, because it was like it's your place, so I was like, I've never been to a place and eat somewhere where I was like, man, if the food sucks, like what am I gonna do? Like, and then so I like took my first bite and I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is awesome. And Nadine's like, well, what do you really? And I was like, no, I'm dead serious. And she like had it. She was like, this is incredible. So I was like, thank goodness, my life is so much better now, because I don't have to. I'm like, I honestly like really love all this.
Well, guys, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, and I would love to,
we appreciate you signing on from a hockey rink. Like Rush he's a hockey player. In his spare time, he likes to do some adult league. Yeah, he's down. You can see behind him. He's at the rink right now, recording his whole thing. Are you at Kettler? Where are you?
Yeah, it's MedStar now, but yeah, I'm at Kettler. Our team plays here on Tuesday nights. They're actually on the ice. They really wanted me to come tonight and just hang out. I've been playing, obviously. I told you I'm having a season up in Philly. But yeah, no, it's I love hockey. It goes really well with what I do for a living. Literally beer league, and maybe they wanted me to come tonight because they know I'm bringing beer. That's probably why.
You need those victory beers, but yes, dude, we won't keep you any longer. Thanks again for coming on, and we'll be talking to you.
As always, thanks, guys.
Good seeing you, bud.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Bye.
Later. Rob, hang with me real quick, and we'll just say our goodbyes. That was awesome. That was a really fun interview with Arash. I mean, I could talk to him for another hour just about like all the different beers and how, let him talk crap about some places that he doesn't like and things like that. But yeah, that was awesome.
I mean, it's fun for the listeners to hear, but it's like, so I've spent my whole life like in business, right, in finance, and like working with like a lot of. Most of my career has been working with like CEOs, COOs of people with like companies that have been wildly successful. And I don't know if Arash will listen to this after the fact, but it's like Arash, he is such a good business person that it is wild, and he doesn't even know it. Like, he is so articulate. He is so focused. He works so hard, but he also works so smart in the way that he's kind of thinking forward on like what the trends are going to be. And I, like you said, I love just talking to him and like listening to him and learning from him. So it's cool. And
yeah, he's knocked it out of the park. And you're right, he doesn't know. He's just he said he went to JMU for a couple years, like that, and then I think maybe Nova Community College or something. Like he learned on the job. And he learned from his father, and now he's putting it to use, and he's kicking butt. And everything they do, particularly, I mean, both locations, they rarely have a misstep. And he owned up to the one. He's like, we didn't see the seltzer thing come in. Like we
Yeah.
missed the boat on that. He's very honest. He knows when he's made a mistake, and he's always worried about if he's pushing the business forward. But yeah, it was a good interview. Like I said, we'll have him on again once we think of some additional questions to ask him. Like I said, we could have gone on and on, but that was fun.
Yep.
Anyway, I think that covers all the tech stuff too. We basically got to everything before our break. I'm interested to see if we can pull a lineman, a D lineman, an offensive lineman in the portal. I feel good about Everett from App State, but that remains to be seen still. So I'm waiting for that commitment. I was hoping it was going to happen before we recorded, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's but that would be nice. A little, the trenches are the focus. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, that could make I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to make a difference between the win total, but if you prevent one sack here, one sack there because you get an offensive lineman in the portal, like that's important. It's really important.
Yep.
Anyway, that'll do it for the podcast. You can find this podcast on Spotify, on Apple Podcast, and sonsofsaturday.com. We'll have all the info for YouTube. We'll tweet it out. You can watch us sit behind these desks and talk to Arash if you want. But yes, it was fun having him on, and hopefully you enjoyed the old clip as well. Hopefully you all could hear it pretty well.
Yeah, if people should check out the video because I didn't know you were going to play that, and I completely forgot about that prank and that clip. We were quite a few beers deep at the end of that podcast because we've been there so long, and I forgot about that. So I was laughing so hard I completely spaced on that. So funny.
All right. Make sure you to review, rate, subscribe, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And until next time, go Hokies.